Don't even start. Is it gonna work? Maybe it's gonna work. It was glitching in and out there for a bit, but hey, what's going on? Here we are. So it says I got a good Wi-Fi connection, but it was super glitchy, so if it decides to crap out on us, give me like 2 minutes and I'll change phones and we'll put the other one up. Anyhow, what's everybody up to? How you been? Been a while. Good to see you. Thanks for coming out. Yeah, seems all right, I think. It's time. Yeah, it is. Crawny tying season. So I'm probably not going to show too much that I haven't before, but it seems like there's a lot of people that are stoked that we're doing it. So here we are. I did get a bunch of requests today. We got a couple on Facebook and then a bunch through Instagram. So we're going to tie up a peaches and green. Not one you hear too much about, but certainly one that when they're on that kind of a bug, you're going to want to have. And then we're going to do a little thread blend with a screaming Viking. And then we'll do a double rib, pretty simple double rib, just a thread body. So I don't do a ton of the double rib thing. I think here and there it has its place, but I don't do a ton of it, but there's lots of questions about it. So anyhow, I'm going to, as usual, give away what I tie. So I've got these half dozen that I'll spin while we're here, and then I'm going to kick in a half dozen other ones as well. So we'll give a dozen away at the end of it all, and you know how that works. Stick around, be here at the end. I scroll through the comments, pick a winner, that's it. So the setup's a little janky here, I'm not going to lie. This is like, the vise is way higher than I'm used to it being. I usually tie with it down here, but to get the camera and everything going, we had to do it this way, so bear with me. I tried 6 waves from Sunday to get that to focus better, and when I'm on Instagram, I can't take off autofocus or anything like that, so you just kind of got to deal with it. All these flies, you can see macro shots on the feed if you really want to. And then feel free to ask questions along the way, whether it's about tying them, about fishing them, about whatever you want, really. Don't be shy. I haven't done as many of these because we've been super busy. Tons of tying and moose and life, you know. So anyways, here we are. I'll get started. This first one will be the peaches and green. It's a pretty simple tie. Uses some rusty brown thread, and I've been tying a ton with the Textreme stuff lately, probably for the past year or more now. And then we've got some 6960 Flashaboo and a little black wire. Yeah, blending will be next. I have to hold tight on that one for right now. So on 14s is kind of where I switch my wire for wire size. If anybody's curious, when I get to these are Daiichi 1760s. When I get to a 14 in one of those hooks, I switch it up to the extra small. And ribs aren't like bam on bugs, so you want to keep them a little bit smaller. And then I've gone over the whole 1 bead, 2 bead thing, and it's probably the tip that I get the most thanks for. So when I build my taper, you can actually see this time it's not terrible. I just use the bead to help me build it. So I will go down 1 bead and then back up, and I'll come down 2 beads and then come back up. And if you're doing super tight wraps, when I say tight, I just mean like side by side. If you have to go slower, go slower. Then that's going to start to build you a pretty perfect taper. It is a 3/32 bead. Yes, sir. 10s and 12s, I'll use a 7/64. 14, I go to 3/32. 16, 5/64. And 18, 1/16. So bead size is crucial. If you're, especially with smaller sizes, I see a lot of 18s tied with 5/64 size beads, and you typically tie your crawny to match your bead. So if you use a bigger bead on a smaller crawn, you're going to come out with something that's too thick, and you got to keep them skinny on the small bugs. So the lighting on your side is pretty good. The lighting on my side kind of sucks. But anyway, so you can see I tied my wire in right behind the bead, and it's extra small black. And now I'm just gonna side by side wraps down to the bottom, and then I just stop at the barb. And if you use that barb as your guide, it'll keep a nice consistent size. So then if you constantly get into the habit of spinning your thread, you'll probably notice when I stop, I'm typically I spin it. Every time I drop my bobbin, I just spin it, and that's just habit, and that'll keep it laying nice and flat. I get a lot of guys ask me about the Textreme thread and if it lays as flat as UTC and that kind of thing, and I would say it certainly does. I think it cords up a little bit quicker than say UTC would, but you just keep flattening it out and it lays nice and flat. See, and I'm already talking way too much because we didn't even tie in our body material. Anti-clockwise, what is that, to the left? Yeah, that's what we're doing. Whatever way that is. All right, so to keep things slim, you'll see me, if you see any crawny that I tie them this way every single time. Whether I'm using like a holographic tinsel or Flashabou, or it doesn't really matter, ASB, I tie them all this way. Now, when I use Flashabou, I just use one strand. It keeps things a little bit slim. And then when you're using Flashabou, instead of tying it in right at the butt with just a little tag, that's what I do with tinsels. You just wrap it around the thread like so, and slide it down, and then just pinch it off with your first wrap, and it'll chill out there. Troy, what's up, dude? How you been? Besides in Mexico or wherever the hell I've been watching you be for the last month, jerk. Jess, no, I am not tying your flies. Sorry. That was, no. You would have a slight advantage if I did that, so I can't give you that. Is super glue better cover for crawnies than UV? So I'm not really one to tell you what's better or what's worse. What I can tell you is what I use. It is that stuff right there. Good old crazy glue. I don't use a ton of it. I keep it pretty simple, and it just keeps them. It makes them last. When you smack fish, and you get good at this crawny thing, you can smack a lot of fish. So having durable bugs goes a long way and saves from having to tie too much. I'm what? Am I who? Look at that. Is a pale ass white cheek. Okay, there ain't no blush in there. Buy lots when you find it. Yeah. Keep it somewhere cool too. It'll last a lot longer that way. All right, so now I'm going to take this. If you tie your flash in the way we did, and you go to wrap it away from yourself, it's going to want to chase the thread wraps, and it's going to kind of jump on you. So when you tie it in that way, wrap it away from yourself, and then we'll counter rib. When I use the extra small wire and tinsel, I like to counter wrap so it doesn't get stuck in the little grooves. So we'll go this way with our Flashaboo. And I've got the two strands kind of laying side by side each other. So it's laying nice and flat. And then the big thing is having that rust brown come through. And then just lock it off behind the bead. Just need a few wraps on either side, 1 or 2 wraps on each side, and it just pinches it in there. And then while I wrapped that, I kept good tension on that tinsel. And one thing I see a lot of people do that are tying cronies with their thread and with their tinsel is not enough tension. You want to yank on that stuff and keep it super tight to the hook. It can make a pretty big difference. So now I'll just take the wire and roll that up nice and even. So I'm just going in the opposite way that I went with the tinsel. No, what did I do there? 1, 2. Yeah, we're good. And then same thing with the wire. 2 wraps over top, 1 in behind. 6260. It's 6960 is that Flashaboo number. And that's about it. This rusty brown is a perfect collar. So just a few wraps. I don't want to build that up too much. Bada bing, bada boom. So burnt orange would work. I mean, the underbody comes out different if you want to change up, you know, to for this particular pattern. But for thoraxes in general, I've been rocking these two lately because I tie a lot with white thread. And I just take this orange Sharpie and then this brown little tulip marker on the white thread. And it's a beauty thorax color. So a lot of my personal stuff got that treatment this year. The name of this fly is Peaches and Green. And you can kind of see actually the light is cooperating enough. So if I roll this, you'll see you have kind of that olive green color. And then if I flip it and it catches the light, now it's got that kind of a peachy, orangey gold color. So you can see I'm glad that actually works out that way. You can see the difference, and that's kind of why it's called what it is. So when the olive cronies, whether they're light olive, dark olive, anything like that, start to gas up, they're gonna start to look like this before they go straight chrome. And so that's what this thing is meant to rep, and it does a pretty good job of that. So you can see I don't go crazy with the glue. Just I wipe it off on the bottle, and then I just take it there and give it a little coat, and that's all it needs. Like, that's a pretty durable fly right there. And that color is, I'm so stoked you guys can see that color, because it's hard to see that in real life sometimes. Blending threads, we're doing that next, okay? Take it easy. We'll get there. All right. Okay, so I'm going to fire off one more of these. This is where I can answer a few more questions because I already showed you how to tie it. But I'm giving them away, so I got to tie another one. What do we got? I'm getting behind. Bead sizing was 3/32. Thanks, Trevor. Cheers, brother. How has the peaches produced for you? Well, you're going to have to fish it. You're going to have to tie it, or you can buy it. We sell them. Yeah, that's a plug. And then you're going to have to fish them. There is this, I mean, it's a bug you want to have. I have them, that's for sure. And as I'm sure a few people who are watching can vouch, the flies that I tie on here catch some fish. Can I get a thumbs up if you've caught a fish that we've tied on the live stream? That would be sick. Throw a thumbs up there for that. Class? Anyone? We got no thumbs up. There's a thumbs up. Okay, that just about backfired. There it is. See? I love it. All right, where'd my wire go? Jiggy Ginger. She's a saucy one, that one. So right here, this is a part where thread tension, like I crank on my thread pretty good, and it just keeps everything that much tighter and that much cleaner. So it's a goofy little thing, but when you're wrapping your tinsels or you're wrapping your thread or your wire, LSD, yes sir. That one is about the only chromie that I fish. Couple different variations of it, but all right, let's get this flashaboo wrapped. All right. Oh, you'll want to try that one. That was last year. That got into my top 3 so fast. Like, every time I went out, I started fishing it, and yeah, pretty simple, but super deadly. And there's another thing I'll touch on with these bugs. I tie some pretty elaborate, ridiculous bugs, and they're out there. But if you're just getting started in tying or fishing, whatever it might be, then keep it simple. Thread body chronies, just thread, hook, bead, and wire, account for a ton of my fish every year. And Rob would tell you the same thing. This is what I've been tying lately, and those are all, except for what we just tied, all thread body bugs. And yeah, you don't have to get crazy elaborate with it. You can keep it super simple and get yourself enough to get out there and catch fish, right? If you want to learn the intricate stuff and get into that, then all the power to you. But if you're concerned with catching fish, then I recommend just keeping things pretty simple. Gray thread, red wire, black thread, red wire. It's... What are your top 3 crons? I guess it depends when you're asking me. Like anything, I have confidence cronies that work for me because I'm confident in them. But a the up and smoke is certainly there. Some type of ASB variation. And then a gray thread, and I would be tied between something like this gray here or something like that gray there. Yeah, it's hard to pick just three. I think, yeah, the shop has some of our ASB and window tint and stuff, and I think they had some flies. I don't know currently if they have any flies, but yeah, they certainly have a good selection of tying materials. All right, so we'll glue this one up, and then the next fly is pretty neat. There's a little bit of history to it, and it's a neat one, so maybe some of you will try tying the original. But there you go. There's that same olive and peach kind of look. Super slim profile. And she's banger. Wow, that kind of looks like it wraps right down the hook, doesn't it? It certainly doesn't, but... So that kind of shows you the taper you're looking for. I know it's blurry AF, I get it, but... thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Can we tie the up and smoke? We don't have time for that one. Sorry, fella. I just come to see you. Well, I don't blame you for coming to see those. I mean... idiot tendencies, but it's all good. All right. Well, whoever's getting those two are getting a couple banger crons. I'll tell you that right now. All right. Next, I got to do some thread changing here. Nice and thin, and I think that's goes back to kind of what I mentioned about if you're just starting or anything like that. Keeping simple is going to make it way easier to keep it slim. And I will take a slim thread body fly. Say the 14s are coming off. That's what we're tying tonight. So you're fishing 14s. I would take a gray thread body fly against the most elaborate, realistic hatch matcher you have, and would not have a problem keeping up catching fish. So it's one of those things, thin to win. I have seen you tell a guy what you're fishing. Oh, I'm fishing an ASB. And he says, well, I'm fishing an ASB too, and it's not working. And you look at the flies, and one of them, you know, one is super chunky, and the other one is really thin. Obviously, there's a difference there. And profile is kind of king, so... All right, bear with me while I load up some thread. Now, there's a bazillion different ways to blend threads. UTC over UTC will give you a super smooth transition, if that's what you're going for. A UTC underbody with like a uni thread overbody, or like a Textreme, if you cord it up a little bit, will give you kind of that more blotchy blends. So you can kind of play with it, and the different threads kind of make all the difference. And then how much overwrapping you do with your top color is going to make a difference as to how much of the bottom color bleeds through and that kind of thing. So the Screaming Viking is a fly that Rob designed quite a few years ago, and this was kind of before, well, it certainly was way before the whole thread blend craze happened, but it was one of the flies that helped to start that. And back in the day, we used to use acetate floss to tie the bleeding limey. And The bleeding limey is a deadly fly. If you're not familiar, acetate floss you can basically melt with acetone, and so you would use a red underbody and a olive overbody, and it's really messy. I should have pulled some. Oh, I do have some pretty close here. It's super messy stuff to work with. So you can see even this spool, that's acetate floss right there. So anyways, it's gnarly stuff to work with, and typically ended up in a bit of a bulky fly. And if it's one thing that guy doesn't like, it's a chunky Chironomid. So the Screaming Viking was eventually born out of necessity to keep the same look as the bleeding limey, but be able to tie it in smaller sizes. So I'm going to start with the red. And again, thread is kind of up to you with what you want to use. The first tie-in process of building that initial taper, 1 bead, 2 bead, stays the same. Yeah, I just see the thing. Every box needs a bleeding limey. It's just a lot of people tie a bleeding limey at a thread and don't realize that a bleeding limey is tied with acetate floss. So acetate floss is a super underused material nowadays. It was used lots back in the day, certainly not so much now. So now I'm just going to grab some red wire, and again, rocking the extra small. And then it takes a little practice to figure out how much wrapping and over wrapping and that kind of thing you need to do with a fly like this. But to be safe, I usually keep the body a little bit thinner up top so I don't build as much up there. And then it's going to allow me some extra wraps with the olive that I put over top of it. Am I missing any questions? Nope. Okay. So flatten her out at the bottom, and then just nice and smooth up to the top. And then I don't even really go all the way to the top. I just save room for just a quick 2-turn whip finish. You don't have to whip finish here. You can just tie in your olive right over top of the red and then cut out both the tags afterwards. There you go. That's somebody that's been digging in the archives on flyguys.net right there. The Mud and Blood is a banger. But we have learned how to create that using just thread as well. So all right, so I've tied that in, and it was super flat when I tied it in, and I've spun it already to keep it super flat. Extra small wire on, if you're tying on 1760s, extra small from 14 all the way down. 10s and 12s, I'll use small. But now I want this thing pretty solid olive for like the top half. So the top half, I basically, when I'm done, I want to be solid olive. So when I get to the halfway point, I'm going to start spacing out these wraps. So I'm just reaching the thread and spacing it out pretty good, and just kind of doing this like cross hatch type movements, and just playing with it until I get it to where it looks like it's going to be dark enough. Now, when you hit this with the glue, the red is really going to pop through. So where you think you've covered up a lot of green, the red will show through in the end. So just be aware of that. So I'm just going to finish this taper with the green, kind of like so. So you can kind of see what I got going on there. Maybe not so much, but you can see the green, and then it looks almost dirty red down here. That's where I've done the open wraps and left some spaces. And then when I hit that with glue, you'll probably see that in the camera. It's just going to go pow. And the red is really going to pop. So now, because it's just a thread body, not concerned with which way I do my rib. So just keep them nice and even. Just like so. Yeah, I tie a lot of flies without gills. Doesn't matter what color bead I'm using. Gills, I think the more little things you deal with on chronies, the more they become confident things in your head, more as opposed to actually making a super big difference. Don't get me wrong, there's times when they do, but those are far outweighed by the times that they don't. I mean, I have 18s that I tie gills onto, but I don't really think it's a size thing as so much as just a thing. So I trimmed those gills about the same size as the bead, and that was uni stretch that I used. All right, so this should come through, I hope. I kind of feel like if I go any brighter on the light, it's just going to wash it out even more. Yeah. So just a little bit of glue, and then I'll just coat that, and you'll see that right away. Yeah, you can see that, which is sick. So see how much more that red pops now? So it just, that body now completely blends together, and you get a nice transition from olive to red. Bada bing, bada boom. Man, I don't know if I want to give these things away. Usually the live stream ties don't come out quite as nice as the others because I'm yapping too much, but I'm telling you, these are nice ones. So play with them. It's a lot of practice. I mean, sometimes they'll come out way more red than you want. Sometimes they'll come out way more dark than you want. But yeah, you get a similar result with resin, but resin just gives it too much of a glassy look. It makes everything shiny. So the glue gives it a little bit of a sheen, but the resin, you see it. I mean, it gives it too much. It's over the top, in my opinion. But see, Thompson on the fly. See, I want to keep him, but somebody's winning him, so it's all good. I got a few more months to fill my own box. The resin might darken the color. Honestly, I don't play with it enough to know too much. I've played with a few different types. Of course, they have their place, but if you look in my box, you won't see too many flies with resin. Gills, make sure you tie a couple wraps in front of your gills. I've seen a few videos where people say that you shouldn't. To each their own, but when you're fishing small bugs, any advantage to get the tippet through that tiny little hole. We typically fish 8-pound. We will fish 6 if we have to, but we chase bigger fish, so 8-pound is often necessary, and sometimes getting it through there isn't easy. All right. So I'll bang this one out, rattle off any questions you might have about the whole thread blend thing. And you will see differences when you use the different threads. So if you start using UTC, it soaks up the glue a little bit more than like a uni thread does. And then you'll have to do more wraps of your overbody to get the coverage that you want using UTC too. So bead sizes are sizes. So just if we're talking, usually if I'm talking about a hook, I talk about a 1760. Scud hooks are a little bit different, but if we're talking about a 1760, then 10s and 12s I'll use 7/64. Some 10s I'll even use a 1/8. And then 14 is 3/32. 16 is 5/64. And 18 is 1/16. If you tie a 20, then it would also be a 1/16. But just short tie an 18. I don't mess with the bead color on a Viking. Black is the only thing I use. No, I don't think so. We're a wee bit away from ice off just yet, which sucks, but unfortunately. No, I don't really care if I have gills. If I'm not going to use a white bead because I don't use gills. I caught a ton of fish last year on flies with just black beads and no gills, brown beads and no gills, you name it. So I'm at that halfway mark. I just open things up, and then as I come up, I just do more coverage. And then you don't have to wrap your thread as quick as I am. I've done a ton of these bugs over the years, so there's some thread control there, but it's if you want a nice clean bug, just slow things down a little bit and keep your wraps, place them exactly where you want. And just wrap your wire. Not going to have time for a Goldilocks tonight, unfortunately. I think I've done the Goldie. There might even be a video for it. The vise is a Stonfo transformer. Scissors are from Vineyard. So one reason I like these scissors, A, they're not super small, and then B, right at the tip, they have like this baller little notch that for what I do, getting up in here and nipping off this thread on the cron, it just nips it super snug and tight, but I don't have to have a razor tip. I'm a bit of a bull moose in a china shop, so sometimes with razor tip scissors, somehow the ends of them get bent. So you can see with the glue, I don't go crazy, just a thin little coat, and that's it. But you can see that kind of ends up with the exact same blend as the other one we tied. And again, that's just going to be doing things consistently and over and over and over and over again. All right, there they are. 4. I think I have some bugs in front of me here, so we'll throw in a couple of the red LSDs, maybe a couple hotspot Zooks, and I'll see about what else. Is there any reason to take? No, I don't think so. So I see guys that tie down into the bend, and I just don't think it's necessary. You know, leave that for hook gap and catching fish. Go stop at the barb. If you do that on every hook, you'll also get a more consistent size. Sometimes you'll see when guys go around the hook, they go around it a little bit one time and then they go around it a lot the next time. And you could have 2 size 12s and one of them looks like a 14 and one of them looks like a 10. You know what I mean? So it's just a consistency thing. If you're going to play with minute changes in sizes, then you have to be super, what's the word I'm looking for? You just got to pay attention when you're tying them to keep them nice and even. All right, so now we're switching up to a scud hook. So this is the Triple G. I posted this a little bit ago, and or I put it on the story, one of the two. I think I put it on the story. Some of you might have seen it, some of you may not. But I mentioned I don't do the double rib thing a lot, and I don't. But this is one that I do. The less amount of crons you can tie on the shank of a hook, the thinner profile you're going to have. And again, it's like I said earlier, I would, any day of the week, take the most elaborate, realistic Chironomid up against a thread body Chironomid out on the water. I think it's kind of a neat video, actually, we might do next year. Rob and I will get, you know, fish an elaborate bug versus a simple bug and just show you the differences. So this is thread that I've been super stoked on. This is the gray from Techstream. And if you want to go and buy 2 new threads in a real hurry, get those 2. So that almost looks black, but if you look, it's dark gray. And that's what they call it. That's the dark gray, and then this is the gray. Reason for choosing scud hook over 1760. Not really. I got a, you know, I used to tie a lot on scud hooks, and then transition to the 1760s over the years. But I mean, I fish both work, and yeah, it's just personal preference. Sometimes in the smaller sizes you get a bit of a bigger hook gap, which can be helpful, but again, personal preferences. Bead sizes with scud hooks. So this is a size 10 with a 7/64, a 12 would use a 3/32, a 14 a 5/64, and a 16 or 18 a 1/16. Those are going to be on the smaller size, and they are specific to these hooks. These are 1120 Daiachis, but yeah. I do not use Togen's 2XL curved nymph hooks. These are Daiachi 1760s. Okay, so I've got the gray thread, white bead, and now I'm just tying in some gray ultra wire. So the Triple G comes from gray thread, gray wire, and gray Flashabou. That's kind of the... Oh, okay. Where's the gray Flashabou? Really? Maybe we're not tying this one. I'm losing my marbles here. Oh, there it is. Okay. So, doing the whole double rib thing, do it however you like. If you want to tie these things in side by side and tie them all the way down, you can do that. I just treat it like any other bug that I'm tying. I tie my tinsel in right at the back here. So I just grab just a very minute piece of it, like basically the width of my thread, and just capture it right there. And then this is a size 10, so it's definitely on the bigger side of the scud hooks that you'll tie. But, so it'll take a little bit to build this taper. But again, just use that bead as reference. You'll notice with any bug that I tie, I only ever take my thread to the bottom one time. So I'll go all the way to the bottom only one time, and that keeps the arse end of this thing nice and thin. This is 6916 gunmetal flash. So I just work that taper till I'm good with it. And then, so to get this started, I just pull my flash down and I basically caught it with the wire. So now I can wrap my wire up. And if you want nice even wraps, practice a shit ton, or just use your rotary feature. I don't, I know I have a crazy nice rotary vise and I hardly even use it. I do use it from time to time when I'm production tying, but most of the time, not so much. So the reason I wrap my wire first is basically because now I can just use it as a guide for this wire. So I'm just going to kind of lay the Flashabou flat and just let the wire guide it up the shank. Oh, that's so lame. Man, I don't even know if I can fix this. Let me try. No. So if you stretch Flashabou, it does that. Nice and shiny up here. Not so shiny down there. But shit happens. So we're going to need a redo on this one. Delicate things. Trying to talk too much. What do you do? This one, not even I'm keeping that one. That'll get torched later and reuse the hook. The moose is currently on the couch, passed out. All right, so you can kind of, I mean, probably most of you seen that fly on my story, but if I twist it, you can kind of see the gray segments there. But I'm not even going to glue that thing. Man, that thing was going to be banger before that happened. Oh, well. Fish won't care. On that one, they do, because half the fly lost its flash. If you take Flashabou and stretch it, it just turns into, like, clear string stuff, so it's kind of useless, but I'm sure they won't care that much, but so it's all about just distributing materials around the hook shank and doing it in as few wraps as you can. So I also tie these things too. So if you're struggling and you're tying, you know, you find your taper is too big, or your bugs are turning out too chunky, whatever it might be, you can tie these, I call them bobble heads. So see those things? There's like, put it up on my hat, maybe not, up there, down here. There is zero taper to that thing. It's just hook and there you go. That's profile. Yes, that's a chironomid. That's not just a hook and a bead. But if you're struggling, then just don't tie any taper at all. Just go straight down and straight back up and keep it as thin as you can. And I promise you, you will catch fish. All right, let's try this again, shall we? That's way off topic. We got to fish crawnies before we fish maize. We ain't even there yet, John. Can I fish my crawns first, bro? All right, let's try this again here. No, I can't even focus on a crawny. You want to talk mayflies? All right, capture that. And then my thread is nice and flossy as I come back up. And that keeps things super, super smooth. So I'm just going to build this body up. Just look through the feed, and the mayflies with the recipes are in there, and they are also on our YouTube channel. So you can find them there as well. All right, so we just about got that taper where I want it. If you don't have this flash, you can use whatever you want. It's just not going to be the same. Would it be a decent substitute? I think so. The flash is flash though. ASB unfortunately doesn't have the same look. It's more of a dull flash compared to this. This is shiny. If I threw a May in March, I wouldn't be hitting nothing. The reason I catch them is because I don't put on Mays in March. See? It's Mayfly Monday. Give Johnny a break. all those things are in the feed with recipes. So, okay, time out. Gotta wrap the flash. Focus, grasshopper. All right, flash is in. Looks very chironomid-like. thank you for that. I like to think it does too. All right, that is legit. So again, I don't know if you can see, probably not worth the beans, but that shine that you're seeing amongst all the blur is the hint of flash that Flashaboo gives it. And just because, now you can finish this fly just like that. You don't have to worry too much about doing this, but because I've got a lighter colored thread, I'm just going to give it a little bit of the orange and then hit it with the brown. This just gives it a super sick burnt orange type color. Beautiful. And then I have a ton of questions about using these Sharpies, because I use Sharpies a lot, and I was showing people, we did some Sharpie flies and a few live streams and different things, and I had a ton of questions about colors bleeding and how do you do this and how do you do that. It's I don't know what it, I don't know, these colors don't bleed. Actually, if you go back to in the feed and go look at the, it's like 7, 8, 9, 10 posts ago, there's a black red butt fly in there that with a rusty collar, and that's tied with white thread, red Sharpie, black Sharpie, and then this combo. And I glued it, and none of those colors bled. So we'll just come in here and glue this sucker. There it is. So that color doesn't go anywhere. Sometimes you'll see it a little bit on the white bead, but this one, I didn't put enough on to even worry about it. But yeah, so little pop of rust, white bead, gray body, gray ribs, bazinga. That sucker crushes. Yeah, that's it. I kind of got to tie one more of these. What time are we at? We're an hour in. So I screwed the first one up. So I will stick around and tie one more just because. And then after this one, we'll do a... Oh, I can't tie another one because everything's under there. Hang on a minute. No. Well, all right. Let's put the shift on. Excuse me. I don't know how you guys store your beads, but mine are just in a little tackle box. But we need white. All right. We're back. And then hooks, I actually do the exact same thing. So I've got all my hooks in another one of these things. So keeps it simple and easy. I don't use a ton of different hooks, so it's makes it a little easier to store them. The 1760 is a absolutely stupid versatile stillwater hook. Nymphs, crons, leeches, it doesn't matter. You can tie a ton of stuff. Okay, what am I missing here? Worked good. What size do I normally tie? Anywhere from a 10-2X down to a 20. Most common bug I fish would probably be a 16. Okay. That doesn't... Try that again. I didn't like that hook for some reason. I do not use hopper hooks. Too flimsy. We need stout, strong hooks. Best hook out there. 100. My For Canada knows what's up when it comes to strong hooks. Okay. All right, let's bang this one out real quick and we'll do a giveaway. So this will be like fast motion crawny tying without the fast forward part. Alan Jackson and Daiichi, basically the same. I will fish either of those with a lot of confidence. Yeah, you might have to. Yeah, they're all 100 packs, and there's lots of them in there. But when you tie as many flies as we do, you need them. And yes, we use Daiichi hooks on every single fly that we sell. So they cost more, but they are quality. And I know that if a guy or gal hooks into a fish of a lifetime on one of my flies, I can be confident they have a strong hook to get that piggy to the net. And at the end of the day, that, in my opinion, is much more important than a wee bit of extra money. Because we do it for the fish. You know? We do it for the fish. All right. And we can change that a little bit. Now I'm getting really picky. All right. Okay, time to give away some flies. Any last questions before we wrap it up? Excuse me talking. Glad everybody's stoked on it. Tag us in your ties. Let us know how you're doing. Post them up. And, yeah. The more we tie, the quicker we fish. At least that's what me and Moose say. Right, Moose? Moose, you want to come do a giveaway? Bro, come here. Come here, dude. Up here. Yeah, come here. You're just gonna sleep? You're such a lazy shit. Hey, you're such a lazy shit. Get in here. That's a moose, ladies and gentlemen. That's a moose. Right? He doesn't like when we wake him up. Okay, let me just pick out a couple here. I really don't want to give these away, but I got a couple of them tied and ready to go. So I'll give away these, can you see those? Those are the red LSDs that I just posted. So we'll throw in a couple of those. And what have we got here? We've got a couple smaller some sexy little gray and black. And then I'm gonna have something else in here that I can add into the pile. Bobbleheads, because bobbleheads are cool. Now the bobbleheads, one is a dark gray, one is a light gray, but that's okay. Okay, where are those other flies? Taking my sweet ass time here, I apologize. All right, so there is what we banged out in a really out of focus kind of way, but we're giving away those. And could you explain the red LSD tie? The same as every other LSD. It's just laser silver, Flashaboo, and some wire, and some thread. You tie a gajillion thousands of them and it would look pretty, it gets easier. Okay. Post a pic of the bobblehead. Yeah, I can do a bobblehead post, sure. It'll, whenever I can take some photos in the next day or two. I showed it a little bit earlier, but that's it. That there you can kind of see that I'm not cheating. There actually is something tied on that thing, but super, super thin, and it goes down. So, all right, guys, let's give away some flies, huh? If you are a winner, you have to send me a DM, and then with your information, and sometime in the next few days, I will get these in the mail to you. And good luck to everybody. Here we go. We're scrolling. Holy, there was a lot of people in here tonight, wasn't there? This is a long scroll. All right, 3, 2, 1. Boom. We have JB Fly Fishing. His comment was, oh yeah. His or her comment was, oh yeah. Do we have a JB Fly Fishing in the building? You got to be here to win. Sorry about your luck if you're not. JB Fly Fishing. Are you here, my friend? There he is. Party time. Everybody's super bummed now. They thought we were going to do another draw. Oh, well. Congrats to you. And like I say, send me a message and we'll get them in the mail, get them off to you. Appreciate every single one of you guys stopping in and asking. We get super stoked on people learning this stuff and taking it out to the water and having wicked days with friends and family and that kind of thing. And that's, to us, that's what it's about. So don't be shy with the questions. Let us know if we can help. I try to answer all the DMs I can. Sometimes they get a little bit much to keep up with, but I'll do my best. And maybe we'll see you in a couple weeks and we'll do something else. I think we're going to do a tying course. I haven't fully committed to that yet, but keep an eye out if you're in the Kamloops area. We will probably be doing a course here in the next few weeks. That should take us right through to ice off. So there you go. That's all I got. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for stopping in. And until the next one, cheers and tight lines.